a game that was decided by 2 goalkeeping howlers and a wonder goal from Gareth Bale, Real Madrid have now done 3 in a row in the Champions League. I always had the feeling that Real Madrid could go on and win this because they're basically built for the Champions League. That's now 13 times they've won it, and as I said, they've now won it 3 times in a row. They're probably going to be the only team to ever do it. They could obviously go on and make it 4 or 5, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. From Liverpool's point of view, obviously the main talking point was the goalkeeping howlers, I suppose. The first one was just schoolboy stuff. You probably didn't see that often on a Sunday League pitch. Then he followed that up with a third goal, which was probably just as bad. It's hard to see how Karius comes back for it. He was obviously distraught at full time, and you can understand why. He's just basically let his team down in the biggest game he'll probably ever play in his career. A lot of Liverpool fans are jumping on his back. A lot of it is really uncalled for, and some of it's like death threats and stuff, but that's probably heat of the moment stuff, you'd imagine, because Liverpool fans always stick by their players, and despite the fact that this was a horrendous mistake, I would imagine that they won't hold it against him, and he might never play for Liverpool again, but I'm sure they can all take a bit of solace in the fact that Loris Karius has played pretty well up until this point, and he served them well up until the Champions League final. Before the season, Liverpool probably couldn't have imagined getting to a Champions League final and getting as far as they did and pushing Real Madrid as close as they did, because if it weren't for those 2 goalkeeping mistakes, which is a bit two-sided argument for me, because I'm saying that they should let him off with it, but then he's ultimately cost them the game. But another talking point was obviously the 2 major injuries to both Dani Carvajal at Real Madrid and Mo Salah at Liverpool. Obviously Salah's the more influential loss. It probably did affect Liverpool. There's no doubt it affected their style of play. Again, it was Ramos at it. He was at it all game, and there was an incident with Sadio Mane as well where he didn't even get touched in the face, but he went down holding his face and screaming like he'd been actually physically hit. He's just an absolute tosser, and Sergio Ramos is one of the biggest of football, in my opinion. The first half was a pretty cagey affair. I think Liverpool held their own very well. Obviously it went in 0-0 at half time. Real Madrid were struggling to really break through and get real chances. Karius had a good save in the first half, and Liverpool had the chances as well, but as I said, it was a pretty cagey affair, and the real action didn't really start until the second half. And within 10 minutes of the second half starting, the game was brought into life. Isco hit the bar 2 minutes into the half, and then a few minutes later Benzema scored, and a few minutes after that Sadio Mane scored for Liverpool to make it 1-1 and back to all square as it was at half time. And then within the next 10 minutes the game was turned on its head again. Gareth Bale, obviously he's a great talent, and he maybe should have started the game, but he came on in the 61st minute I believe, and within a few minutes he scored an absolute wonder goal, and I'm probably going to include it just after I talk about it here because it's probably one of the greatest Champions League goals we'll ever see. It's definitely the best one I've ever seen in person. It's very similar to even Ronaldo's one earlier in the season, but the fact that this is a final, it's obviously reminiscent of Zinedine Zidane's one about 15 years ago, but this one's probably even better.
3 in the box waiting for the cross, and it was Bale! Oh, what about that?
There's literally no words for the strike. It's perfect. The cross isn't even that great, but he somehow manages to catch it so clean, and it just flies into the back of the net. And this one can literally put no blame on Karius, because no goalkeeper in the world saving that. No one's expecting it to even happen at the time. For all that the game looked to be going away for Liverpool at this point, they could have got back into it as Mane hit the post about 6 minutes after that goal, and that probably sums up Liverpool's night. It was mainly down to the goalkeeping howlers, and then the luck didn't go their way when it probably could have, and they probably needed it to as well. And then the last 10 minutes of the game, of course, the second goalkeeping howler, Gareth Bale hits a shot from about 35 yards, not troubling the keeper at all by the looks of it, but obviously Karius' head's gone by this point, and he flaps at it. It's going straight in his hands, and he just lets it go right through, and it just summed up his night as a whole. And the fact that he was left crying after the game obviously shows that he knows that he's let his side down. As I said, that's now 3 in a row for Real Madrid, 13 Champions League titles, and as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on and do it even more. They're like the Celtic of the Champions League, Celtic and Scottish football of course, and they just seem so dominant in this competition. It just seems so predictable. They always back them as favourites for the competition, no matter how well teams are playing. Liverpool were completely on top of their game. This is the best Liverpool side there has been in the last few years at least, probably since the Brendan Rodgers era, and they obviously didn't get very far in the Champions League or whatever. Can't even remember if they were in it that season. They've managed to beat teams like Atletico Madrid in these finals, and they were playing brilliant as well at the time, so I wouldn't imagine that Real Madrid's Champions League crown can be taken off them anytime soon, unless a team can massively improve in the next year, because they just seem unstoppable. And that's it for this video, guys. Cheers for watching. Leave it a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more of this type of content. Cheers for the amount of subscriptions I've had in the last month or so, because it's been quite a lot in my opinion. I don't know how I've managed to actually gain this much in a short space of time, but I appreciate it all, and it's always down to you guys that I've actually got this much, obviously because you're clicking the subscription button. But enough of that pish. Cheers for watching the video, and I'll see you next one. Cheers, guys.